Greetings, this is Matt Faiello. I'm a technical marketing engineer with the Cisco Cloud Networking Compute BU, and we're back with another Intersight Managed Mode Expert Series video. Oh, this is a wonderful feature that we're going to talk about today. It's the Intersight Custom Privilege Set feature. You might also know it as Enhanced RBAC because it's been talked about on many calls with customers. But this is an exciting new capability that we're introducing with Intersight, and you're going to have a lot of power at your fingertips to control what exact actions, what exact policies that you wish a particular administrator, server administrator, domain administrator to have. So without further ado, let's get on to some PowerPoint slides and then a demonstration. Okay, and talking about privilege sets, first and foremost, it's a new construct that you're going to see in the UX. And as such, when you create a custom privilege set, you're going to have 812 discrete system privileges exposed to you that an account admin then can modify, enable, disable as desired. The reason it says 812 plus is because we're working and thinking about future capabilities with Intersight. And as we bring them to Intersight, we very well might be expanding this privilege count. But for now, phase one, it's going to be 812. You're welcome to count. Now, as far as creating a privilege set, you can start from scratch and start with a whole 812 and pick and choose. But probably a better way to do that is to start with a predefined baseline, and you're going to see system package privileges, okay, that you can start with. Case in point, server administrator. You can start with a server administrator, okay, and just then, as a filtered down subset of that 812, modify the server administrator privileges. And of course, as I said, you can start from scratch if you wish and see everything. And that might be a good exercise just to see everything in the system. So once these custom privilege sets are created, you then can create a role and add the privilege sets to the role. Okay. And you can do that for all orgs or just certain discrete orgs. So nothing really changes there as far as assigning the privilege set to the role. Okay, and then of course you're going to take that role and assign it to a user account. From a scale standpoint, you can create up to 100 custom privilege sets per Intersight account. So that's the maximum, 100. And for a given role, you could add 30, up to 30 privilege sets to a given role. That's probably extreme, but case in point is you might create a bunch of privilege sets with certain limited capabilities. Okay. Very few capabilities per privilege set, and then add multiples of those to a given role. Um, the capability also allows you to set a flag to receive any new updated privileges that we push to the system based on going forward capabilities that we develop. Okay, so you have that at your disposal. I would urge caution in that. If you're going to limit people's capabilities, you're probably going to want to fully understand what additional privileges would push, perhaps in a lab setting, prior to exposing that to your users. But then for every customer that fits that type of model, there's others that have just, the super user that you want to add any and all privileges to. Case in point there, though, is you probably, that person's probably logging in with an account administrator role anyways. So if we use an example of server administrator, there's 300 privileges within the server administrator privilege set. And, as an example, we could take away maybe that server administrator's ability to secure erase the disk. Perhaps you want to limit that capability on who can do that. So you can certainly do that. And then, of course, within the whole policy model of Intersight, you can affect who can create, who can modify, and who can delete. Okay, so you can think about all the policies that exist out there. There's at least three of these privileges for every single policy. Next, I want to talk about privilege set types. So you're going to see in the system three different buckets of privilege sets: system defined, system package, and then anything you create is going to be a custom privilege set. When it says system defined, that means it's a non-editable privilege set. Case in point, the account administrator. We're not going to expose everything in the account administrator privilege wise for you to edit, to pick and choose at this time. Okay, you can't break that apart. So think of system defined as fixed at this point in time, and you cannot modify those. The next category is system packaged, okay? And those are able to be broken apart, and you can pick and choose the individual privileges that you want to edit within those privilege sets. And then, of course, anything that you create uh, net new is going to be labeled as a custom privilege set. And you're still going to be able to have access to that 812 plus individual privileges to modify. So at that top category, system defined, that's outside the bounds of the 812. Okay, the 812 is there for you to affect and edit as you see fit. Moving on with the demonstration for privilege sets, you can see I'm logged into Intersight and I am an account administrator, so I have full control. And you can see over here on the left side underneath settings, there's a new construct here, privilege sets. So if we click on that, we have the ability to create a new privilege set. But first of all, I'd like to focus on the type here. You'll see those three different types: system defined, okay, which we cannot alter, system defined, like account administrator. System packaged, which we can. We're exposing all those 812 privileges under the covers for you to pick and choose and edit as you see fit. And then finally, custom. So anything that you start off with a system package and create a privilege set, it becomes a custom privilege set. And what I did was I used the power of the Intersight UI here, which I really like, and I create custom visualizations. So I've used the filtering. So here are my system defined, which I cannot alter, and then my system packaged privilege sets, which I can alter. I can use any of these as a start point uh, to create a new custom privilege set, which is the third column here, all the custom privilege sets that were created. And as such, we're going to start off with this one here. This is the one I was working with. So let's edit that. And even before we do that, let me go back and actually click on create custom privilege set, because when you create one for the first time, you have the ability to select privilege sets. So if I march forward and go to the next screen, I'm going to see basically all 812 privileges. So if I do that, let's go next. Now they're bucketized, but everything will be in this list according to configure, according to operate, read only, and of course, very powerful search mechanism within, and I highly recommend you use that. So in my case, I wanted to start off with one of those system packaged privilege sets. So I actually started off with server administrator. So that takes that 812 down to roughly 300 system privileges that I'm going to work with in Taylor. So I just wanted to call that out. And let's go to custom, and I've created one. So let me walk you through that. You're just not seeing that first selection of system package because I've already done it. Let's click next. And here's this allow future updates. Okay, so anything new coming down feature or capability wise that we introduce to Intersight that affects that 812 privileges, and we might introduce more privileges, then if you check this box, then it's automatically going to add. So let's say 300 server administrator privileges become 310. Okay, with new capabilities that are coming down. Well, if you check this box, then you're going to inherit those new 10 privileges. So my guidance is, that's probably great for lab. That's probably great for the super user guru that you want that person to have all power. Okay, but for a lot of use cases where you're trying to be discreet and limiting what people can do, I would not select this. Okay, I would vet that out in a lab first, understand what capabilities exist, and then add them, edit them in at a later time. So as such, you have these same buckets here, which categorize things for you. Very nice. It's a tree-like structure, and you certainly can purview all those and look what's there. And I encourage you to do that as kind of a learning exercise. But then the real power comes with search capabilities. So one of the things that we want to limit this server administrator from doing is scrubbing, using a scrub policy, right? I don't want that person to be able to um, create, modify, or delete a scrub policy. Okay, and you're not seeing anything here. It says show selected. Well, I've already not selected it. All right, so I need to take that off. Okay, and you can see down here from a scrub policy perspective, I've disabled these capabilities here. So let's go and move on to erase. One of the server actions that I want to limit with this privilege set role is I want to take away that capability of the server administrator to erase any drives. Okay, that's going to take a higher sign off and blessing in my change control process. So for this server administrator that's more junior, I want to take away that capability. And as you can see, I've deselected that. And then finally, I want this junior server administrator to not be able to decommission the entire server. Okay. In addition to that, I don't want them to decommission a chassis either. So I've taken away those capabilities. Now, you're going to see as you do this, like downstream dependencies, and in a different color, you'll see like upstream dependencies. If you click on the eye icon, it tells you what that is. So, what that is effectively is even though there's 812 privileges, uh, they're connected behind the scenes. So it's not like they live in their own autonomous world that you can just pick and choose. Some you can, some you can't. Some are dependent downstream and upstream in the tree upon other things. So that's sharing this information with you. So if you deselect something, you might be affecting something else as well in the tree. Okay. The documentation covers that really well. You can learn more out there on select privileges, and it really is dependent on your particular use case. So as we march forward to our summary, you can see again those downstream dependencies and those upstream dependencies. Downstream in green, upstream in purple. Um, just FYI, okay. And it's telling there's definitely uh, an aspect here where you're configuring the template, okay, for that given policy. So obviously policies you're adding to templates and profiles. So once you click save, that's saved that particular privilege set. It's a custom privilege set because we've modified the server administrator system packaged privilege set. And as such, we can then go move on to our roles. This is standard fare in Intersight. Okay, so nothing's really changing here. But let's go ahead and scroll down here to a role that I created called SA Mat. Let's go ahead and click next, and you can see privileges here. And here is that custom privilege set that I created and I'm adding in here. That label probably should be privilege set. Okay, just FYI. And I'm going to try to get that changed. But this is where you add your privilege sets that you've created. And you can add up to 30 privilege sets to a given role. Okay, that's the max. Probably not going to push that boundary, okay, but there will be customers that choose to create a bunch of smaller discrete capabilities and add them into a particular role. And for every one of those customers, there's going to be another customer that just wants to have all 300 server administrator privileges and take away maybe one or two capabilities. So, you know, some customers are in the North Pole, some customers are in the South Pole, and they do things completely 180 different. And that's the beauty of the system, is it's got the power and the flexibility to allow you to manage according to how you want to manage and not be forced to do it a certain way. Okay, so we've created our role, and of course then with the role, you add it to a user. And as you can see, I've added that role here. So now let's switch roles, and I'm going to dial up a standard all up server administrator. Okay, and if we go to policies and create a policy, as you would expect, I can create that scrub policy as a full up server administrator. So all 300 individual privileges. I can go to servers, and as far as my server actions go, I can go and do a secure race on the hard drive on that server. And I also can decommission that server. Okay. So this is all, as you would expect, a server administrator role to be able to do that. But now let's go ahead and change the role to that custom privilege set. And let's go to policies, and let's create a policy and its server. As you can see, there's no scrub policy that shows up here. So I cannot create, I can't modify, can't delete, can't work with a scrub policy at all. Let's go to servers and explore the actions. Let's go back to that same server. Notice there's no ability to do a secure erase on the hard drive, nor is there a capability to decommission the server. So those server actions have been taken away by that custom privilege set. And that completes our demonstration of custom privilege sets. And that completes today's video on Intersight custom privilege sets. I hope you were able to learn something. Stay tuned for more Intersight Managed Mode Expert Series videos. Thank you.